Hello, my name is Anjani, and this is the full moon astrology report for the upcoming lunar eclipse, which is a super moon, and it is the first full moon of 2019. So there's a lot of reasons why this particular full moon is epic, grand. There's a lot going on setting us up for this new phase we're going into in the upcoming year 2020. So I really want to jump right into this. You can see the sun and moon are in exact opposition, and it's happening right on the nodal axis of the moon. This is true anytime that we're having an eclipse. So this particular setup, we have the north node, which represents our destiny, where we're going. It's north. The moon is there, which represents our lineage, our emotions, the thing that's so deep that it's like information embedded in our DNA. That's what the moon, it represents a lot of things, but that's one of the major things that the moon represents. So you can already see that's kind of a weird combination, where we're going, our destiny, life purpose with the north, and then the moon being emotions, past, having to do with our ancestors, and then also DNA, like ancestors that live on through us in our DNA, and the different ways that all of that expresses. So right across from the moon and the north node is the sun on the south node. So the sun is that illuminating force that many cultures consider the sun as God. They consider Surya, if you know Surya Namaskar, that's salutations to the sun god. And it is a major part of how we express ourselves in our personality. So every season that we go through, like we just are getting through Capricorn season, and somebody today asked me, like, what do you mean by that, Capricorn season? I'm like, okay, well, every time the sun shifts signs, we are learning to embody those qualities that are represented by the sign that the sun is in. So we're just now finishing up Capricorn season. Today's the last day of that. And in Capricorn season, we're learning how to really bring our power, our everything that we are, bringing it down to earth into a structure, setting some sort of a structure for our life. Capricorn teaches us how to be the author and the authority of our own life. Very heavy, grounded, following rules, making rules, setting up the mores, the standards that you're going to be living by within the cultural standards that we're living by. So that's Capricorn season. Now we're going into Aquarius season, which is where the sun is, 0 degrees Aquarius for this full moon. Aquarius is where we discover our own inner genius, what we are here to innovate, what we are exploring in consciousness, and how far out can we go? That's what we're discovering in Aquarius. I also like to think about the seeds that we plant during Capricorn season, during the winter solstice, that we're planting seeds during Aquarius season. Those seeds start to rumble and maybe burst through and start to sprout a little bit. But mostly there's just that rumbling going on. I'm thinking of like, well, some of my seeds will start to sprout in as little as 7 days, but some take longer into spring. So this is what we're moving into with Aquarius season is everything that we have grounded and planted is starting to shake and move. And so how would you feel how would your life be if what you were planted and all of the structure and form that you created for yourself during the big thing that everybody was doing this month was organizing, the Netflix show Tidying Up? brought forth this great, like, oh, let's get organized. Let's give our stuff away. And that is a very Capricorn vibe. Setting your structure, minimizing what you have, making your living space more inhabitable, and giving away what you don't need. That's a literal letting go of things, making space for new things. Now we've made that space. Capricorn season is now we have that space. Now what are we going to do? How are we going to move? And where can we innovate and create new things? So that's the sun in Aquarius right next to the south node. So the initial thing that I feel when I see this is that our own karma, our habits, patterns, addictions that the south node represents, being illuminated during the eclipse, during the full moon. And how do you want to work with that? Now you've created all this space, and if you haven't done that yet, don't worry. It's not like you need to spend today and tomorrow cleaning. It would be nice, maybe pick an area and get it organized. Like I got my room, mainly that's all I did. I didn't do the whole house. I just did my room, clothes, my books in my room, crystals, all of that kind of stuff. But have it nice and organized. Now you have this big open space where you can see and feel a little bit more. Okay, so the past coming up here, we're able to see that it's illuminated. Mercury is there also, which is our form of expression, not just with our voice, not just with our mouth, but also the way we move, the way that when we take information in through eating food, through seeing things, through experience. Mercury is representing the way that we're going to express our style of hair, the way we dress. Mercury is part of that. That's part of Mercury's influence and what Mercury is representing. So that being there on the south node gives me the feeling that maybe that's changing. Maybe our connection to the way we were expressing ourselves takes on a radical shift during the eclipse. Maybe that's something that is being eclipsed. I see the eclipse as like eating something. It's like really gets really big, gets really small, then gets big again. And that's how it looks when you watch an eclipse. Like have that experience of watching the eclipse. I recommend doing that if you can, because this eclipse is happening during reasonable hours. I've gotten myself up in the morning at 3 a.m., 2 a.m., 4 a.m. to go out and watch the eclipse. This one we can witness it during, 9 p.m., something like that. So seeing what's going to be gobbled up by that sun and moon eclipse. And Mercury being right there gives me the idea that maybe information, receiving new information, information in, information out. That's what Mercury is representing. So opening up to that, opening up to the possibility that the way that you have been perceiving everything in the world, maybe there's another way to do it. Maybe there's new things for you to learn, to receive, new ways to listen, new things to listen to, and also new ways that you can express what you have received. Very exciting to me. I feel very excited by that. So that's what's on the axis of the eclipse. Now let's look at over here. Uranus is exactly square. So like I said, everything in red is meant to be challenging. Uranus being squared to both of these things in both directions. Everything I mentioned here with the sun, south node, and Mercury squared to Uranus, and then the moon and the north node squared to Uranus. So Uranus is a change agent. Already the eclipse is it's a changing it's a big shift. Just the eclipse alone is a shifting type of energy. Now we add in Uranus, who's known as the change agent. This is like the Prometheus story, where Prometheus steals fire from the gods and to give it to humans so that humans can create And, what do we do with fire? Lots of things. Learn to cook. We could light things up. We could use it as a weapon. And Prometheus is like Uranus, who it creates worlds because of a shift in perspective. And there's a little bit of naughtiness and a little bit of going against the rules with Uranus. So where we have set our structure and rules during Capricorn season, what I'm sensing into is that this connection with Uranus on the eclipse is giving us an opportunity to question our own rules and question the outer rules, the outer authority, and see where we can have a change in that structuring of rules. So looking at that in your own individual life, what have you just made a rule and stuck to it and followed it without questioning it? And where could you use some change of those rules? Okay, so there's one thing here also I want to mention, this connection between Venus and Jupiter, very, very tight conjunction between Venus and Jupiter. So Venus is the way energy moves in this direction. It's known as receptivity, love, attraction, magnetism, beauty, pleasure. Venus is sort of the representative of those Aphrodite type of energy. So Jupiter is about spirituality, about evolution, expansion. Whatever is around Jupiter gets expanded. It gets bigger. It's blown up. So with these two together, to me, it feels like during the eclipse, we're getting this big burst of love, attraction, pleasure. What is beautiful? So asking yourself some of these questions. What do I take pleasure in? What is beautiful to me? And how do I experience pleasure and beauty in my life? And how can I let that be bigger? And how can I evolve in what I consider to be beautiful and the way that I draw things into me? So Venus also is associated with money, abundance, food, wealth. So how can I, bringing that essence of Jupiter, which I consider to be the inner guru, it is like a teacher, like your own inner guru, the way that you are spiritual, your spirituality, you can say. How can I combine that with the way that I perceive beauty, the way that I receive, the way that I am creating wealth and abundance in my life? How can I combine my spirituality with that? And also the other thing that's coming up is the wealth of spirituality. So this has, in the last 24 hours, somebody mentioned to me that why don't you read the Bhagavad Gita? And I'm like, I've read it like 3 or 4 times. I've taught classes on that. Why do I want to read that book? And then today, one of my beloved clients, she also mentioned, Anjani, you should read the Bhagavad Gita again, because so you can remember the value of what it is that you have accomplished in this lifetime in inner peace and stillness and all of that wealth of spirituality, because she was saying that she felt that I was not seeing the value in all of my spiritual gifts. And yes, instantly I was like, you know what? That's true. I forget, because it's so second nature to me. I know how to go in an instant. I can be in a deep meditative state, connecting to the earth, angels. I can go anywhere. I can get into like this dreamy bliss state from zero to 60 in like 2 seconds. And that is such a huge, massive gift that I was taking it for granted. So looking at how spirituality is abundance and how that spirituality is beautiful, it is valuable. And I'm seeing something about breaking through this, maybe it's an invisible wall that I've experienced my whole life, where people think of spirituality as something out there that they do on Sunday. They go to church and they have, and having it be not part of regular life. It's like, oh, my spiritual life and my regular life, my work and my spiritual life, or, but having that be more of an everyday thing, like part of your everyday life, bringing spirituality into everything that you do, and in your own unique way, because I think what we have with church is like spirituality is this one certain way, and with Jupiter and Venus together, it's showing me like, oh, maybe this is where we realize the beauty and pleasure of being connected to spirit, being aware of our soul, being aware of what feeds and nourishes our soul in sacred union with all of nature. And whatever way that is for you. For me, it is with nature, but it could be in lots of different ways for lots of different people. But having this essence being felt every moment in life, where it's not so split. Like now I'm doing business and I'm, in my business mind, but then back in my meditation time, that's when I'm spiritual, or that's when I'm connected to spirituality. No, now it's all the time. Now we're able to see how that is beautiful, how it's valuable. And maybe this is a huge opening into that, because also Mars is there. Mars is trine Venus and Jupiter. Mars is like the knight in shining armor who is valiant, courageous, the way that we have bravado, the way that we are courageous and assertive. So this loving connection of Venus and Jupiter that feels very beautiful, spiritual, and evolutionary. Oh, wow. So maybe also like an evolution on the way we perceive beauty, wealth, and nature, abundance, and then having courage, bravado, assertiveness to go out. I've been using this phrase since last month, working with my friend Eric Roth, to Mars it. Mars it, meaning take action from that perspective of Mars. This is another thing that has been coming up a lot, because I recognize that we don't have a healthy connection to Venus or Mars, really. Venus, we've wanted to just rape, take, get as much as we can, use. We use art. We use it to make money. We use the earth for its resources, and not thinking about how can I listen to this earth? How can I listen to my beloved? Venus a lot of times is associated with women. And it's just like, what can I get from this? What can I, how can I exploit? And then Mars has been used, I'm saying the unhealthy. I'm saying this is what I feel like we have unhealthy connections to Venus and Mars as on the bigger play. Individually, I'm not saying we all do, but just the overall mainstream way that we've been working with Venus and Mars. And then Mars being, we don't have the courage to say what we need to say. We weren't taught to do that. We were taught to be nice and just sit back. So we don't really know how to assert ourselves in healthy ways. And so that's why I think we like to watch violence on, I watched Aquaman like 4 times since it's come out. And I'm like, wow, there's so much violence in here. Why do people like to see each other get beat up and hit? And instantly I'm like, oh, it's Mars. We don't have a healthy connection to Mars. So instead of asserting ourselves every time we get the opportunity and doing it consistently, we keeping it in until finally we explode and want to like shoot out schools and do crazy stuff, because we don't have a healthy connection to our own inner Mars. So Mars is here at a trine, which is one of the only easy aspects that we have during the eclipse, is this connection between Venus and Mars. So it's easy, meaning there's nothing we need to really do about it except for honor it. Take a moment to notice how feminine, masculine is working in our own lives, and be open to expanding and evolving more in that connection to our own inner feminine and inner masculine. The other easy aspect is Chiron. Chiron is known as the wounded healer, who is a shaman, a teacher, an astrologer, a musician. Chiron teaches the art of war. I love this because he's a healer and teaches the art of war. So that place where war and healing are sharing a pole, sharing a polarity. So this is an easy thing in connection with our lineage, the moon, our emotions, the moon, and also where we're going collectively, our destiny with the North Node. So there's this healing component that is weaving and bringing together all parts of ourselves, all parts of our global community, and doing this alchemy that I consider to be a healing thing, bringing things together and integrating. So there you go. Thank you so much for watching the video. Please feel free to answer any questions. I won't likely answer them until Tuesday because I am getting off the grid, checking out to really fully experience the eclipse and listen, practice my art of courtship in relationship to the sky, the moon, the sun, and nature, beings, beautiful beings in nature. So feel free to ask any questions. I promise I will get back to you by or on Tuesday. And thank you so much. I look forward to connecting with you soon.